My name is Elena Vargas. I am 35 years old. Until a week ago, I was the Human Resources Manager at Grupo Castillo Technologies, one of the most important technology companies in the city. I say was because my decision to help someone in need cost me my job. Or so my boss believed. Everything began 3 months earlier when Isabella Castillo, the 19-year-old daughter of Don Javier Castillo, the owner of the company, started coming regularly to my office during lunch. At first I thought she was interested in an internship. After all, she was a first-year business administration student. "Can I sit here for a moment?" she asked the first time. Her voice so low I barely heard it. The cafeteria is very noisy. There was something in her eyes, a mixture of fear and desperation that reminded me of myself 15 years earlier. So I simply nodded and continued my work while she sat in the corner of my office. This pattern continued for weeks. Isabella would come, sit silently, and sometimes cry when she thought I was not looking. Finally one day she broke down. "I'm pregnant," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "And my father, he's going to kill me." Don Javier Castillo was known for two things: his brilliant business mind and his explosive temper. He was a traditional man who controlled every aspect of his family's life, especially that of Isabella, his only daughter. "My boyfriend Mateo," she continued. "He works in the IT department here. Father doesn't know we're together." "Mateo Herrera?" I asked, remembering the young programmer I had hired 6 months earlier. "He was brilliant, responsible, and genuinely kind." Isabella nodded. "We've been dating for a year. He wants to do the right thing and marry me. But father has other plans. He wants me to marry the son of his business partner." I remained silent for a moment, processing the information. As human resources manager, I knew this was more than a simple family crisis. It could affect the entire company. "How far along are you?" I asked gently. 3 months. I can't hide it much longer. Mateo and I have been saving to leave." At that exact moment the door of my office burst open. It was the assistant to Don Javier. "Isabella, your father is looking for you. The Garcia family is here for the engagement dinner." Isabella's face turned pale. I can't do this." Then she fainted. What happened next was chaotic. I called the company infirmary while the assistant ran to find Don Javier. Mateo, who had apparently been watching over Isabella during her visits, appeared within seconds. "What is happening here?" The thunderous voice of Don Javier filled the office. "What is this employee doing touching my daughter?" "Mr. Castillo," I began, trying to stay calm, "your daughter needs medical attention." "Silence," he roared. "Herrera, get away from my daughter right now." But Mateo did not move. Instead he lifted Isabella in his arms just as she began to regain consciousness. "No," Mateo said with a firmness that surprised me. "Isabella needs me." Don Javier's voice became dangerously soft. "Daughter, tell me this is not what I'm thinking. Tell me this employee has not been taking advantage of you." Isabella straightened in Mateo's arms. For the first time I saw in her eyes the same determination I had seen so many times in her father's. "Father," she said, her voice trembling but firm, "I am pregnant, and Mateo is the father." The silence that followed was deafening. I could see the storm forming on Don Javier's face, his fists clenching, his face turning red. He turned toward me, his voice shaking with rage. "Did you know? Have you been covering this up?" Before I could answer, Don Javier exploded. "Security guards." 2 security guards rushed into my office. Ramon, the head of security who had been with the company for 20 years, assessed the situation with one look. "Get this opportunist out of my sight," ordered Don Javier, pointing at Mateo, "and call the police. I am pressing charges for harassment." "No," Isabella cried, stepping between Mateo and the guards. "Father, I love him. This is not what you think." Don Javier's laugh was bitter. "You are a naive child. This opportunist only wants to climb the company ladder." Then he turned toward me. "You are fired. You have been covering up this garbage." "Mr. Castillo," I intervened, keeping my voice professional despite the chaos. "As human resources manager, it is my duty to inform you that your accusations are serious and unfounded. There has been no harassment. Mateo and Isabella are adults." "What? Adults?" he roared. "My daughter is a child and you have been helping her ruin her life. Guards, escort Miss Vargas out of the building. She is fired for being a liar." "Mr. Castillo," Ramon's calm voice cut through the tension. "Before making hasty decisions, there is something you should see." "What?" snapped Don Javier. "We have cameras in all hallways and common areas," explained Ramon, "including the hallway outside the Human Resources office. The last 3 months are recorded. Don Javier's face tightened. And what about it? The recordings show that your daughter has been coming voluntarily to see Miss Vargas. They also show her meetings with young Herrera. Everything has been completely appropriate. Show me, demanded Don Javier. Ramon nodded and led us to the security room. On the screens, scenes from the past months began to play. Isabella arriving at my office always of her own will. Mateo and her meeting in the cafeteria. Keeping professional distance but with looks that revealed their feelings. The times Isabella felt ill and Mateo helped her discreetly. There is more, said Ramon, switching to another recording. This is from 2 weeks ago. On the screen appeared Don Javier himself meeting with Mr. Garcia, the father of the suitor he had chosen for Isabella. 50 million. Don Javier's voice could be heard saying, "That is the value of the merger if our children marry. Isabella will do what I say. As always." Don Javier's face paled as he heard his own words. And this, continued Ramon, showing another recording. This is from yesterday. The image showed Isabella in the parking lot, vomiting while Mateo gently held her. Then Mateo's voice, "We should tell your father. I don't care about losing my job, but I can't stand seeing you suffer like this." "Father will never understand," sobbed Isabella. "He only sees numbers and contracts. He never even asked if I wanted to marry Andres Garcia." The recordings continued showing moment after moment. Isabella getting sick at work. Mateo caring for her discreetly. Me providing a safe space in my office. Don Javier sank into a chair, his face transforming as he saw the truth unfold before his eyes. "My baby," he whispered, watching his daughter suffer in silence day after day. "What have I done?" Tears began to run down his cheeks while the recordings kept playing his daughter's love story. A story he had been too blinded by ambition to see. "Sir," said Mateo, speaking for the first time since we entered the security room, "I love your daughter, not for her last name or her money. I have loved her since I met her in the library a year ago when she was studying for her exams and I was on my break. She didn't even know who I was." Then Isabella approached her father, taking his hand. "Father, this baby, your grandchild, was conceived with love. Mateo and I wanted to tell you." But Don Javier raised his hand, stopping her words. He stood up slowly, his red eyes fixed on the screens that continued showing the truth he had been too blind to see. The silence in the security room was heavy. Finally he turned toward us. "Ramon," he said with a broken voice, "thank you for showing me this. I have been so blind." He approached Isabella, who instinctively moved closer to Mateo. "My girl," he whispered, "when did I become this monster that frightens you so much?" "Father," Isabella began to cry. "No, let me finish. I have been so obsessed with business, with mergers, with the family legacy that I forgot the most important thing, your happiness." He turned toward Mateo. "And you, young man, I judged you terribly wrong." "Mr. Castillo," replied Mateo firmly, "I understand your concern. I am a simple programmer. I don't come from a wealthy family. But I love your daughter and our baby more than anything in the world." Don Javier nodded slowly. "I see it now in the videos. The way you care for her. How you respect her space in the office. How you worry about her well-being before your job." He passed a hand over his face. "You have been more of a father to my grandchild in these 3 months than I have been a father to Isabella in years." He turned toward me. "And you, Elena, I owe you an enormous apology. You were not covering up anything wrong. You were protecting my daughter when I could not." "I only did what any decent person would do," I replied. Isabella needed a safe space. Someone who would listen without judging. The following months brought significant changes at Grupo Castillo Technologies. Don Javier not only withdrew my dismissal but promoted me to Director of Organizational Development with the specific task of creating policies that promoted a more humane and understanding work environment. Mateo proved more valuable than ever to the company. His latest software project had caught the attention of important international clients. "I always knew you were brilliant," I told him one day. "That's why I hired you." Isabella decided to finish her university degree while working part-time in the company. Learning the business from the bottom up, as it should have been from the beginning. Don Javier cancelled the merger agreement with the Garcias. "Business is important," he announced in a board meeting, "but not at the cost of my family's happiness." The wedding of Isabella and Mateo was small but beautiful, celebrated in the garden of the family home when Isabella was 6 months pregnant. Don Javier cried as he walked his daughter down the aisle. "You know what is the most ironic?" he told me during the reception. "I was so worried about the future of the company that I didn't see Mateo is exactly the kind of person we needed. Not only for his talent but for his values." 5 months later little Sofia was born. The first time Don Javier held his granddaughter, I saw something in his eyes I had never seen before. She is perfect, he whispered, gently rocking the baby, just like her mother. The change in the company was remarkable. Don Javier implemented more generous paternity and maternity policies, established a nursery in the building, and began evaluating people by their character and abilities, not by their origin or connections. 1 year after the incident, during little Sofia's first birthday party, Isabella hugged me with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she said. "Without you, without your safe office, without your support, I don't know what I would have done." I smiled, looking at the small reunited family, Mateo playing with his daughter, Don Javier laughing genuinely, Isabella radiant with happiness. All we need is for someone to listen to us and give us the space to be honest. Don Javier approached with Sofia in his arms. "You know, I thought I was protecting the family legacy with that arranged marriage. But this," he gestured around to the happy united family, "this is the true legacy." Little Sofia grew up surrounded by love with parents who adored her, a grandfather who had learned the most important lessons in life, and a family company that finally put people before profits. And I learned that sometimes simply doing the right thing, even when it seems risky at the moment, can trigger changes that benefit everyone. Every time I pass by my former office, now converted into a lactation and restroom for pregnant employees, I smile remembering how a moment of crisis transformed into an opportunity for positive change. As the company's new motto, suggested by Isabella, says, success is not measured only in numbers, but in the happiness of the people who make it possible. Thank you for listening to today's story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next story.